What is up, everybody? Welcome into episode 58 of the Brahma Bullpen. Me and producer are here, and it is the season of the ranking. So, what we're going to do today in this episode is we are going to rank our head coaches for all 8 teams, 1 through 8. What we're going to do is we'll do a little roster update. We're going to do a little stats for each team, go through those graphics real quick, and then what we're going to do at the end, we're going to pop up a ranking graphic, and we're going to just talk about why we ranked everybody where we ranked them. Is that cool with you, producer?
Sounds great.
All right. And for those out there in YouTube world, I want you to know that these things don't work flawlessly, and we're on take number 436,000 on this episode. So a producer evidently has to pee or something, so he wants to go really quick. I don't even know what that's all about, but we're going to get right into the episode, folks. First thing we're going to do is just do a little roster update. This is the latest transaction that involved the Brahmas. We do not track transactions for everybody else. On here, we got Hassan Hall. He has been signed as a running back to the Brahmas. And if you look at the notes below, Josh Bledsoe has been released because he signed a futures contract with an NFL team. So congratulations to him. And now I'm going to pop up this graphic. Feel free to pause it. Feel free to follow us on socials at SA Brahma Bullpen on Instagram and on X. I post this on a pretty regular basis, and I keep it update based upon those transactions that come out. And in case you guys are wondering, I'm in a little bit of a hurry. Like I said, producer's got somewhere to be, even though he's home. I don't know. We'll talk
It's
about that.
called bed.
Oh, bed? It's 7:30, dude. What are you, 60? And the national championship game is fixing to start. I don't know. Anyways, I'm not going to get into it. But yeah, we're going to just go through these things. And if I forgot to mention it, we are coming to you from the cow pasture on behalf of the United Football Media. And in case you guys are wondering, you're like, but Bullpen, only you're in a cow pasture. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. Producer lives in a horse stall. So legitimately, where my house is at used to be a cow pasture, and the rest of the cow pasture still here. Where his house is at used to be a horse stall, and the other horse stalls are still there. So hey, I'm representing the cow pasture. He's representing the horse stall. I don't know. I just came up with that right now, but those are facts.
True
Right?
fact. True fact.
Yeah. Popping up this next graphic right here. I'm gonna toot my own horn just a little bit, producer. You know, there's a show on the United Football Media. We got a show that covers all the teams, but there's a show called The Captain's Log. And if you guys got to watch that this week, they were talking about who their coaches are going to be, who the new head coach is bringing in, and position coaches and all that kind of stuff. But we're fortunate. We have the exact same staff we had last year, from the GM all the way down to the running backs coach. And I was able to confirm this because I did the first time in my life, I slid into some DMs. I slid in to a Son of Bum's DM and asked him if this was an accurate list, and he gave me the thumbs up. Go ahead. What do you think about that, producer? Am I being too much of a football nerd talking
I
about?
think that's great. You got a response from Coach Phillips.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad he confirmed that, and it's great to see those same coaches returning. I'm glad we kept that staff together because we got a great coaching staff.
We got all of our staff back. We got 80% of our players back. We made it to the championship game last year, and we won the XFL Conference Championship. It's looking good for the Brahmas, folks. But let's get into our coaching graphics and a little bit of stats here. We're going in alphabetical order based upon first name. So there's no predetermined, you can't see what our rankings are. We're going to do our rankings at the end of the episode. So we're just going through these randomly. And we talk about these little bit of stats. I'll kind of go over the graphic, and the producer will come in and chime in. So here's the St. Louis Battlehawks. They went 7-4 in 2024. The PFF overall scoring for their defense was 74.9. They were the number 4 scoring defense, which means they gave up the 4th most points, 227. That's 20.6 points per game. The offense, on the other hand, got a score of 68.2. They were the number 2 scoring offense by scoring 275 points, 25 points per game. And just so you guys know, these are 11-game stats. You guys, some teams only played 10, some teams played 11. The Brahmas and Stallions played 12 because they made it to the championship game. So when we're going over these stats, if a team is ranked number 1 and played more games than the other team, that's even more impressive, right? But what do you got for Anthony Beckett? What do you got? Your thoughts on him?
Of course, he's still young in his coaching career, but those are some decent stats, good enough to make it to the playoffs and
And lose.
you know, yeah, and lose, but not bad, not bad. He did a good job so far with St. Louis.
Cool, cool. Well, we're gonna go on to the second coach here on our list, Bob Stoops. B comes after A, alphabetical order, folks. But the Renegades, 3-7 in 2024. You got a PFF defensive score of 63.7, an offensive score of 66. You have the number 6 scoring defense and number 3 scoring offense in the league. Look at that defensive ranking, and when we get to the end, you'll see why that's important, right? But they gave up 249 points while only scoring 247 points, 2-point difference. That's why they're 3-7. 24 points per 0.9 given up, 24.7 scored per game for the season. Doesn't take a mathematician to know if you're scoring less points than you're giving up, you're going to have a pretty bad record. But thoughts on Bob Stoops, producer?
Well, he's it's good to see he's done some good things with the Renegades in the postseason, but regular season really struggled there. Um, those stats are really close. Their offensive points allowed versus the defensive, or sorry, offensive scoring versus the points allowed by the defense. Their offense was good enough. But that defense, man, they got to work on improving that. But hopefully, he finds a way to improve that. I say that I don't want him to improve it too much because we still got to beat them twice. But
You said their offense was good enough to go 0-2 against the Brahmas last year. But hey, who's really counting here? Anyways, moving right along. Next coach, AB. Now we're at the C. Coach C.J. Johnson, the worst team in the league last year, 1-9. Look at these stats. PFF rating of 64.0 on defense, offensive ranking 55.2. They had the fifth worst scoring defense, I guess you would say, ranked fifth. They have number 8 on offense. So if you're giving up fifth most points and you're only scoring the 8th most points, which is last in the league, you can see the stats there: 233 points given up on defense, only scoring 158 on offense. Hey, average 15 points per game on scoring, giving up 23 points per game. That's an 8-point swing. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out why they went 1-9. What are your thoughts on C.J. Johnson there with the Houston Roughnecks?
putrid.
That's how you got to
Yeah,
moving
horrible,
along.
man, horrible. And I mean, at Rice Stadium last year, it was empty too. I think they're the only team that can make the claim that they scored the same amount of points a game as fans they had in the stands. So
Ooh,
it
shots
was
fired.
yeah, it was bad, man. So bad job.
All right.
That sucked for them.
Well, let's move on to the only new coach. So evidently, a coach did worse than C.J. Johnson because he's no longer employed with the UFL. But so now we got Coach Ken Wisenhunt. The stats here are not Coach Wisenhunt's stats; these are the team stats, right? So obviously, we don't know how good his team's going to be this year, but 57.3 defensive ranking and 57.1, very close. You can look at the scoring defense and scoring offense. They gave up the most points in the league at 290, and they scored the second least, the 7th at 188. They're giving up 29 points a game. They're scoring 18 points a game, i.e., that equals 2-8. What do you think about Wisenhunt? First season as a Memphis head coach coming up. Check out our boys over there on Captain's Log. They're breaking down coaching positions and roster as we speak. There's going to be a lot of turnover for that team. So it's kind of hard to rank them right now. But if you want the most updated information here on the United Football Media channel, go check out my boys Webb and Brandon over there at the Captain's Log. But producer, what do you got on Coach Wisenhunt?
Yeah, with those stats, 7 on offense, 8 on defense. I mean, they had to make a change there. Understandable. What a great hire. I think he can really improve that franchise, and we'll see what he's got. It's hard to know because everything is new for them. Some of these teams we got a pretty good read on who they're going to be. Brahmas being one of them, but this is a complete unknown. So we'll see what they have and what he brings to that franchise. But I'd like to think that it'd be positive.
Speaking of positive, the second best team in the USFL conference, the Michigan Panthers. We're going to talk about Coach Mike Nolan here. They went 7-4 last year. They got a defensive score rating of 76.8. That's the number 3 scoring defense, right behind the 2 teams that were better than them. Anyways, defensive trend are we talking here? But giving up 220 points a game, they scored 246. You start to see that pendulum shift a little bit. They were a playoff team last year. Offensive ranking of 61.2. They gave up 20 points per game while scoring 22 points a game, i.e., winning record and playoffs. Math works, folks. What do you think about old Mike Nolan, producer?
Well, I think that Mr. Nolan, he's done a good job with the Panthers so far.
Coach
Uh,
Nolan.
Better, what's that?
You don't call coaches Mister. You call him Coach Nolan.
Coach Nolan. Okay, my mistake there. Um, he's done a better job. The record reflects better with the Panthers than the rest of his coaching career. But I think a good testament of that is their defense, as you mentioned. I think that's been the biggest difference maker as far as how well teams do offensively. It seems like a lot of these teams are pretty close, but those really good defenses are what is separating teams. So uh, nice job last year.
Not to go off track, but do you think the offenses are going to take a big step forward with some of these returning coaches? Do you think that pendulum will swing back to offense a little bit? Like, in NFL, it's all offense. They hate defense there. What do you think?
I think that the defense will always be more important in spring football. I think it may take a little bit more a step forward as far as offense goes because of the continuity, but I still think defense is the if you had to prioritize one, I'd take a strong defense over a strong offense.
I say why not both? But on to Reggie Barlow. All right, 4-6 last year in 2024. Reggie Barlow is coming back. Probably one of the biggest things that happened to him this year is the re-signing of Jordan Ta'amu. I also believe Abram Smith is coming back. He was hurt last year, their number 1 running back, which really crippled that offense. But you can see the PFF defensive score is 64.2, offensive score is 66. They had the 8th worst defense, which is why they did not do very well last year. They gave up 251 points in just 10 games, did not make the playoffs. Scoring offenses of ranked 6th. They scored 209 points in 10 games. You give up 25, you only score 20. Do the math, equation, algebra, i.e., losing record. What do you think about old Reggie Barlow, their producer?
Disappointing.
Hmm.
Of course, they were in the XFL conference, and that was the stronger of the two conferences, right? Overall, but so they had stiffer competition, but still they had all the tools there. They had a good home field advantage. They've with that small stadium. They had a good quarterback play. So there was a lot of things that they had going for them, and yet where they ranked with defense and offense, just a underwhelming job there. They sucked.
Underwhelming job in better of the two conferences. Man, you're taking shots all across the board. Man, you're in a feisty mood tonight. All right, moving on to Skip Holtz, the uh, 11-1 USFL and USFL conference and UFL league champions for 2024. Look at this defensive rating of 90.1. Holy good moly. I don't even know how that's possible, but these PFF rankings are based upon the entire defensive side of the ball, based upon all the metrics for the linebackers, linemen, all the players of secondary and the tackles they made and all that stuff. So it's an overall score of defense. 90.1 is pretty amazing. Number 2 scoring defense. I just want to throw that out there. Number 2 scoring defense, meaning they gave up the second fewest points at 198 points in 12 games. 12 games. 16.5 points per game. Other teams gave up 100 more points than that in 10 games. It's crazy. Go to their offensive score of a 70.9. That's not bad either. Number one scoring offense. They had the number one scoring offense and number two scoring defense. I mean, that just equates to championship. 321 points they scored in 12 games. So they're scoring 10 more points a game, 26 versus giving up 16. That's why they're the champs, buddy. What do you got to say on Skip Holtz?
Yeah, there's it, oh man, what a resume for a coach in spring football. So all I can say is man is man is the goat. Uh, Amazing resume there, and he's a offensive minded coach. For him to have such a great offense, of course, no surprise there. The offenses, once again, have all been pretty close. They're not worlds better on offense, but they are the number one scoring offense. But that defense, once again, that's what separated them, and for them to have be so strong in both categories, um, that's how they end up the champs.
There you go. Well, now let's look at the Brahmas coach. Now, he's only last on this list because his name starts with a W. But later on, we're going to rank our coaches. But here we go. The Brahmas, XFL Conference Championship Brahmas, Wade Phillips, 8-4 last year. The number one scoring defense in the league with a PFF score of 74.4. Let that sink in, right? The Stallions had a score of 90. Brahma's PFS score is 74, but the Brahmas gave up less points. So there's something going on there with those per player rankings inside PFF. 193 points that gave up in 12 games, which is the fewest, 16 points per game. The offense might have struggled a little bit. We'd like to see a little bit better, 18 points per game. Realistically, I remember talking to you last year, producer, and I was saying, man, if the Brahmas scored 20, we win. And I mean, pretty much, that's the way their season went. 270 points we scored in 12 games. That's only 18 points per game. So we definitely know where our improvement needs to be next year or this coming season. But we got Kellen Mond coming in. So we definitely made an improvement, and we got a lot of wide receivers coming back. So I think we're gonna be just fine. But XFL conference champs, Wade Phillips. What are your thoughts on Wade Phillips here?
Defensive minded coach. What a resume Coach Phillips has to lean on. Um, no surprise on the defensive side there. That's his specialty. That's what he knows. That's his profession. On the offensive side, there, of course, hopefully there's some improvements made. Hopefully, with Kevin Mon, I think we're going to get a very exciting offense, and we'll enjoy that. But on that defense, of course, we're number one scoring, but you mentioned that PFF score there uh, based on individual stats and performances. Hopefully, we're able to find out what's lowering that score. We're able to isolate those areas and get some players to really improve. And maybe we get a much stronger defense than we even potentially had last year.
Yeah, I think injuries play a lot to do with that. I know every team battled through injuries, so I'm not saying Brahma specific, but yeah, what a great season we had, conference championship. Uh, we just, offense can take a little step forward. We're going to be able to give the ponies a run for their money. But now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the show. We're going to pop up a graphic right here, and it's just going to be our ranking. I'll be able to see them all at one time, and we'll just run through the list real quick and talk about why we got each coach ranked where we got them ranked. So I'm going to pop that up right now. You got my rankings there on the way to my left, and you got producers' rankings there onto my right there. So just right off the back, you see we both have Skip Holtz number one. Producer, I don't think we got to go into a whole bunch of stats here. 3-time spring football champ, twice USFL, once UFL. Uh, Wins pretty much every game he coaches in spring football. We don't even have to talk about like college stats, but what are his spring football stats? You got him right there.
Well, he total has won. Of course, this is regular season. He has won 86% of his games in
Jeez,
spring football. Only in 3 seasons, only lost 4 games, and that's it. Of course, in the postseason, man's 100%.
100% in the postseason. You got to be kidding
Yeah,
me. That's crazy.
yeah,
You need,
and
well,
and
I
I'll
guess
just
two
add,
championships. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just add that he's as far as college stats go, he's had a lot of experience in college ball, but winning records there as well. So he was over 500 for his college stats. So he's done it at every level he's been at. He's won. So great
Well,
coach.
jumping on to number two, I got Wade Phillips number two. Obviously, they were the second best team in the UFL last year. He's been known to be a great defensive coordinator. Hey, producer, I'm gonna throw a crazy stat at you. Wade Phillips 7 times has been hired as a defensive coordinator for a team. Okay, all 7 times that team made the playoffs the next year. He has had the number one rated defense every year he's been a head coach in spring ball. So he's a defensive minded coach. Brahmas made it to the championship on defense. Please tell me, you got to give me a good. Why is Bob Stoops number two on your list and not Coach Phillips? You better come up with something good, or I'm gonna berate you.
What's the ultimate goal
Winning,
for a coach? Win
winning
what? What's the ultimate goal? What do you want to win?
championships, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Bob Stoops has won a spring football championship. He won an XFL championship.
I counter
Wade
you with a Super
Phillips,
Bowl. I counter you with a Super Bowl as
what's
a
that?
defensive. I counter you a Super Bowl win as a defensive coordinator. Doesn't supersede a head coach spring football championship.
Well, that's great, and that's true. Wade Phillips did do that, but
Okay.
we're talking about spring football and that championship victory as a defensive coordinator for Denver. That doesn't do anything for him as a spring football coach. It doesn't count towards the postseason. So Bob Stoops, not so great in the regular season, but he won that championship in the XFL. And Wade Phillips made it to a championship game and lost it. So in my opinion, you got to bump out Bob Stoops up because he has that championship.
Phillips wins the 2025 spring football championship. Does he jump to 2 or 1 on your list?
He
If he
jumps to
beats
two.
if he beats Skip Holtz in the UFL championship this year, does he jump to 1?
Mm.
I tell you, he jumps to 1 in
Well,
my book.
well, in here he'll be one, but Holtz is got three.
All right, all right.
He's
Well,
got three.
let's move on to number 3. I got Mike Nolan ranked number 3 basically because it's uh, his second year there for the Panthers. He started off slow last year, but he was able to make enough changes. Play style, game call, like his offensive play calling switched up throughout the season, compensating for injured players. And he took a team that everybody wrote off early in the season and got them into the playoffs and gave the Stallions a pretty good run for their money. So I got him ranked number 3. You got Coach Phillips ranked number 3. Real quick, I know we already talked about Coach Phillips' stats, but why do you have him number 3? Just solely based upon defensive paralysis?
Well, for all the reasons you ranked him number two. I think he's a great coach, and
Right, because
I
of my
got
heart?
yeah, I got nothing against the guy. I want Coach Phillips to be one of the top rank or the top ranked coach. But once again, he's got two guys ahead of him here that have won spring football championships.
Mhm.
So to me, he's the best coach on the list that hasn't won it yet. Let's change that this year, but that's why he's number three.
Are you a closet Arlington Renegades fan? That's the only thing that makes sense why you have Stoops above Phillips. I don't know, man. I don't know.
No, I only root for one team. I don't. I'm not Webb. So
Oh, you just pick one and stick with it. You don't jump ship,
yeah, yeah,
man. Shots
exactly.
fired. Shots fired at the boats over there, Captain's Log. Watch out now. All right, let's move on to number 4. I got Stoops number 4. He did win a championship for the XFL. I will point out that he backed his way into the playoffs with a losing record, but he was able to get his team motivated. Luis Perez, the GOAT of spring football, and he's coming back this year, so I think they have a chance to be way better than they were last year. But I got Stoops 4. You got Anthony Beckett 4. What you got going on over there with Beckett?
Well, he's young in his coaching career. He's only got 2 years, but the man unfortunately hasn't done anything in the playoffs for the Battlehawk franchise. But regular season, I mean, he's at 70% winning percentage. He's had two winning seasons, both 7-3, and so um, he's any time you got a 7-3 season and a 10-game season, 7-3, um, as far as your scores or your schedule goes. um, that's a win. You'll take that. That'll get you in the playoffs. So I think he's done good for that franchise. So that's where I put him there.
Right on. We'll go down to number 5. I got Beckett fifth just because of his regular season winning percentage. He hasn't won any championship and he's young, so he's definitely got improvement to make. This year is going to be a challenge for him. AJ McCarron's not coming back. We're going to see how he works with a new quarterback. Is looking like Dugan's going to be the starter up there, but he does got Ja'Kyr Pearson and guys like that coming back to help soften the load. But I got Beck at number 5, and they're definitely going to be a challenge for the Brahmas in the XFL conference, and it's solely based upon his regular season winning percentage. And he's probably one of the better follows on social media. In case you guys want to know which coach actually posts funny stuff sometimes, Anthony Beckett's your guy. But why do you got Barlow number 5?
Oh well, once again, he's been a little disappointing. He's had his ups and downs. Great stadium there, great environment, strong team, strong quarterback play, but failed to kind of put it together, make anything of it. As a XFL coach, he took the Defenders 9-1, so great season and didn't win anything. Then in the UFL. They went 4-6, so they took a step back. That step back, that's if you're looking at to evaluate a coach. Of course, there's a lot of reasons you could point to that happened, but overall, that's really disappointing. And due to that step back, you gotta knock him down. So I'm going to put him at 5.
All right, all right. Yeah. I'm with you on that. I got Reggie Barlow 6. Abram Smith getting hurt probably hurt him a lot. But as a coach, you got to make those adjustments, man. You got to figure out a way of taking the guys you got healthy, get them on the field, and put a game plan together that wins some football games. And we're kind of getting down to the nitty gritty. Can it? Everybody can't be the top 4, or everyone can't be number 1. So I got Barlow 6. Now you have Mike Nolan 6. I have him as high as 3. How come you don't have any love for the Michigan Panthers, even though they were a playoff team last year?
Mike Nolan, of course, he's got a lot of coaching experience. He's got NFL experience, um, and he did do well. But his
I mean, he did better than
USFL,
Barlow.
and that's true. His USFL record isn't so great, 7-4 or 4-7. I'm sorry. He did make improvements. Went 7-4 in the UFL. He took the Panthers to the playoffs and really competed with the Stallions. So he's done some good things. I'd like to see more from that franchise, see more from him. I think he's got a lot of improvements to make, but I think he can do it. It's just the order in which I feel he should be. I think he should be at 6.
All right. Well, we got the same 2 teams going up 7 and 8, and I'll go over both of mine. You can go over both years. I got Ken Wisenhunt 7, even though he's got great NFL experience, not so much in spring football. The Memphis Showboats are one of the worst teams in the league last year. They were the second worst team in the league, followed only by the Houston Roughnecks, who were the worst team in the league. So I got those Wisenhunt and CJ ranked 7 and 8 respectively, just because I don't know what they're going to do this year. CJ Johnson didn't show me he had the ability to adapt and change game plans. I don't know what's going on with the offensive style over there. They never really had an identity. Wisenhunt's coming into a team that's going to have a complete roster turnover. There's going to be coaching staff turnover, we expect. Keep an eye out there on the captain's log for that information. But yeah, so I got them 7 and 8 just based upon last year's performance and not knowing if they're going to make vast improvement. I feel like the Stallions are going to be just as good this year. I feel like the Brahmas have improved. I feel like Michigan is going to be just as good as they were last year. And I feel like Arlington and um, St. Louis are going to be a little bit better than they were last year. The bottom three, I just don't know what improvements they're going to make, even though Reggie Barlow does have Jordan Ta'amu coming back. So talk about 7 and 8.
Well, these two coaches, I think they've got great potential. I can see why they're head coaches. In addition to Wade Phillips, that I'm aware of, I believe these are the only other two coaches that are on this coaching list that have won Super Bowls as assistants. So it's a testament to the qualities that they possess as coaches in order to get that job done. But um, you know, uh, Coach Wisenhunt, you mentioned coming in new roster, new staff, a lot of things overturning. So we'll just have to see what happens there. I think there's potentially the between the two. I think he probably has the more potential, and so I put him at 7. But same thing, C.J. Johnson, really rough time. Can he make those adjustments that were failed to be made last year? We'll see if he improves in that area.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. There's our coaches ranking. This is ranking season. We'll see who we're ranking next time. We're going to keep the rosters updated. We're going to continue to make content for you guys every week coming out. I think producer, am I getting a commitment from you? Are you going to be a staple on the bullpen now?
We'll see. I'll try to make as many as I can. As
Oh
long
man,
as
look
it
at that.
works out.
Look, look, if you're still here, if you're still here and you're watching this channel still right now, I want you to know that this is the most non-committal person. He can never say yes or no to nothing. It's either we'll see, let me think, I'll do, let me take. Never yes or no. So get used to that, folks, if you're going to be watching this
That's
on the channel.
it's a possibility you're accurate.
See? See? Anyways. All right, producer. Thanks for everything. Let's end this thing like we always end it with a nice horns forward. Let's go, Brahmas, baby.